Excitement, precision, speed, power. These are just a few of the words used to describe the aerial ballet that has come to be known as an air show. And when people think of air shows, one word immediately comes to mind: Osh Kosh. The evolution of today's air show performers and their magnificent airplanes can be traced back to early military pilots who used basic aerobatic maneuvers to avoid enemy gunfire. Veteran military pilots helped train new recruits who were eager to learn the intricacies of spins, dives, and rolls. After the war, pilots who had difficulty finding work back home purchased military aircraft out of government surplus. Flying from one county fair to another and carrying paying passengers whenever possible, these daring pilots became known as barnstormers. Their exploits were largely responsible for bringing aviation to the American public. Over time, the demands of aerobatic flight on both man and machine led to new airplane designs, new construction techniques, and new technology. These improvements, plus the ever-improving proficiency of pilots, have created an entirely new performance envelope. All of these factors have combined to make air shows the second most popular spectator sport in the United States. Only baseball attracted more spectators last year. The biggest air show can be found in Osh Kosh, Wisconsin, during the last week in July. Here, the world's top air show performers and some of the most familiar aircraft on Earth create a symphony of sights and sounds unequaled within the international aviation community. A spirit of camaraderie and fellowship carries over into the staging area from the thousands of convention volunteers who are largely responsible for the event's success. In an atmosphere of family, these performers donate their time and limitless energy for the enjoyment of their audience and the sheer joy of flying. Each day at Osh Kosh, the air show begins with the presentation of the American flag by J.T. Hill and the Liberty Parachute Team. J.T. and the Liberty Team have opened every Osh Kosh air show since 1986. This past year, J.T. completed his 50th jump at EAA Osh Kosh. 1990 also marked the first night jump in EAA Osh Kosh history. It was another impressive performance for J.T. and the Liberty Parachute Team. In 1990, some of the most familiar names in air show history gathered for a special Seniors Invitational. Gene Littlefield, who has more than 25 years of air show experience, started things off in his familiar Stearman. Gene has logged more than 4,000 hours in 115 types of airplanes during his career. It's unusual to see Gene flying Magic 1 without his wife, Cheryl Ray, who has been Gene's wing walker for 10 years. Next up during the Senior Invitational was 86-year-old Steve Whitman, known to millions as the Dean of Air Racing. Here Steve flies his Formula One racer, Little Bonzo. During his illustrious career, Steve participated in nearly every major air race in the United States, dating all the way back to the 1930s. Bob Herendeen is another veteran of the air show circuit. He began flying competitive aerobatics in 1965 in a pit special. A two-time national aerobatic champion, Bob was also a five-time member of the U.S. aerobatic team. He has won silver and bronze medals in world competition. The 1990 EAA fly-in featured a unique gathering of air transports that was actually a living and flying history of commercial airline service. This Stinson is owned and operated by Bill Brennan of Neenah, Wisconsin. It has become an EAA Osh Kosh feature, offering rides to willing passengers. An appreciative crowd watched as the Stinson touched down and taxied to its spot on the flight line. This Ford Trimotor is part of the EAA Aviation Foundation's collection. It is hangared at EAA's Pioneer Airport, where it flies on occasion during the summer months. After being virtually destroyed in a windstorm in 1973, the Ford was restored over a 12-year period. The Junkers Ju-52 has been fully restored by Lufthansa Airlines. The restoration process took more than a year to complete at Lufthansa's maintenance base in Hamburg, Germany. In addition to extensive repairs to the airframe, additional instruments were installed to upgrade cockpit equipment to modern safety standards and to keep pace with advances in technology. Captain Heinz Bonsmann describes the airplane's early history.
The Ju-52 has been the backbone of the Lufthansa fleets in the 1930s. We owned more than 250 of this aircraft type, and this actual airplane has been delivered to Lufthansa in 1936, and we bought it back in 1984 and restored it. We now have more than 1,400 flying hours on it again, and we are 16 pilots. We are flying in our spare times, and we really like to fly this old bird.
The three trimotors engaged in a flyby that may never again be duplicated. No story of air transportation would be complete without the Douglas DC-3. She was the most widely used airliner before and after World War II. During the war, under the designations C-47, R-4D, and Dakota, she carried troops and supplies to locations around the world. The DC-3, like this one operated by American Airlines, flew for the first time on December 17, 1935, 32 years to the day after the Wright brothers introduced powered flight at Kitty Hawk. The Lockheed Super Constellation introduced non-stop coast-to-coast airline flight to the United States. It also ushered in the age of high-altitude intercontinental airline service to the world. In its day, the Connie was the largest, fastest, highest-flying piston-engine aircraft ever developed for commercial use. The airplane's first flight was in 1943. 2 years later, it began commercial service throughout the 1950s and into the 1960s. One of the last remaining examples of the famous Connie line came to Oshkosh in 1990. Restored by the Save a Connie Foundation of Kansas City, the distinctive humpbacked, triple-tailed airplane became a crowd favorite, both on the ground and in the air. British Airways' supersonic Concorde jet contrasted sharply with the propeller-driven air transports of yesteryear and underscored the remarkable advances in technology since the DC-3 burst upon the scene in 1935. The world's fastest commercial airliner made its third visit to Oshkosh. Spectators heard a familiar voice at Oshkosh 90, Captain John Cook, who had flown Concorde to Oshkosh in 1985 and 1988.
So here she comes. Now we have to latch onto that attitude, 11.5, 11.75 degrees. A great big bird coming into roost, a beautiful bird, and a very nice soft touchdown. Well done, Steve.
The seniors' invitational continued with Marion Cole, a member of one of the most famous families in airshow history. Marion has flown at EAA fly-in conventions for more than 30 years, both as a member of the Cole Brothers Flying Circus and as a solo performer. Vern Dahlman flies the only known example of Lincoln Beechey's 1914 Little Looper, the first airplane built in the United States specifically for aerobatics. The loops seem almost too stressful for Vern's antique airplane, but with each maneuver, the airplane's performance becomes more exciting and impressive. Al Peach heads up another airshow family that includes his two sons, Warren and Kent. Here, the elder Peach flies his airplane, the Starduster II. Bob Barden and Eddie Green comprise one of the most familiar and popular wing-walking acts on the airshow circuit. Bob has won several aerobatic contests in his airplane, the Black Baron. Eddie has walked the wings of an airplane more than 1,100 times.
Gently rolls the airplane around. Red and smoke on each wing tip, white
Jim Minning flies another rather unusual act. He lands his airplane on this specially designed truck. Here's a bird's eye view of the action. The B-1 bomber made an impressive encore appearance at EAA Osh Kosh in 1990. Arriving at the conclusion of Tuesday's air show, the supersonic jet performed more like a fighter than a bomber. After landing, the bomber taxied to the hard surface parking area, where it remained on display for the remainder of the week. Pilot Dennis Weir described his airplane's performance capabilities.
It's a supersonic, high-altitude and low-altitude bomber. Right now we can fly 1.2 Mach up at altitude, and we fly high subsonic, basically 0.95 Mach down at 200 feet. It's got terrain following radar, so we can basically fly with the radar system coupled up to our flight controls at 200 feet, fly at night in the weather, not being able to see outside.
The B-1B bomber was just one of the many aircraft from our nation's current military inventory that participated in the air show. Others included an A-10 Warthog, an F-14 Tomcat, an F-15 Eagle, and the AV-8B Harrier. With its ability to hover or to take off and land vertically, the Harrier is one of the most popular jets on the air show circuit today. Charlie Wells, another participant in the Seniors Invitational, has been flying air shows for more than 25 years. The silence is deafening when Oscar Besch performs. His sailplane routine personifies the terms grace and beauty as they relate to flight. Oscar has been flying for more than 45 years. He began as a Luftwaffe pilot toward the end of World War II. Since then, he has flown more than 60 types of aircraft, but his favorites remain the silent type. Bob Lyjak and his Waco taper wing have brought the excitement of aerobatics to millions of spectators over the course of his 30-year air show career. Bob, who recently retired as professor of mathematics at the University of Michigan at Dearborn, has introduced many new maneuvers to the world of aerobatics. EAA founder Paul Poberezny concluded the Seniors Invitational Air Show in what proved to be a very special performance. After 38 years of participating in EAA's air show, from Curtiss Wright Airport in Milwaukee to the Greater Rockford Airport, and finally home to Whitman Field here in Osh Kosh, 1990 marked Paul's final air show performance. While Paul will remain active with the convention, the traditional opening of the air show by Red One and his frequent air show performances will be sorely missed and fondly remembered. EAA Osh Kosh has always been noted for introducing new aircraft designs and construction techniques. In 1990, the Osh Kosh Air Show featured an exciting new design by Bert Rutan, the Aries fighter. Bert describes his unique single-engine, one-place fighter.
The airplane's very unusual. You say it has an inlet on this side. That's all the inlet that goes straight into the engine. Over on the other side is a GAU 12 25 millimeter gun.
Like a Gatling gun?
Yes, right. Makes a lot of smoke, and so that all the smoke stays on that side, and the engine gets clean air over on this side. The airplane's been flying since February, and we've got the flying qualities and performance worked out very nicely now. Our next step is to measure its detectability, see how it will survive in a threat environment, and then also to develop the gun.
Another exciting airplane at Osh Kosh was the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's revolutionary X-29. Built by Grumman for NASA and the U.S. Air Force, this supersonic jet features forward-swept wings made of high-tech carbon fibers. Test pilot Rod Womer explains the X-29's test program.
The forward-swept wing is only one of 8 technologies, advanced technologies, that we're demonstrating on the airplane. The reason that the forward-swept wing is being used is because theory predicts that it will be significantly more efficient in transonic maneuvering flight. What that means is an airplane that's near the speed of sound and maneuvering, which is what the modern fighters do during ACM dogfights. This forward-swept wing will have 20% less drag than an aft-swept wing on the same airplane.
In addition to high-tech airplanes like the Aries fighter and X-29 research jet, the Osh Kosh Air Show features some of the most familiar and popular performers in the world. Elliot Cross has modified his Great Lakes extensively for both air shows and skywriting.
This is a home-built Great Lakes. The original Great Lakes was built up in Cleveland, Ohio. Company was formed in 28. They rolled the first airplane out the door in 29, and I believe they were building them through 1933. This one's got the 220 Continental on it, which is a very readily available engine. The Warners are getting real scarce these days. And I always liked the Lakes. I started flying shows in a new production Great Lakes, and it's just always been my favorite airplane.
Tim Neely flies the spectacular Extra 300. Designed by renowned German designer Walter Extra, the 300 is stressed for both positive and negative 10 Gs. Randy Henderson flies a highly modified Taylorcraft BC-12D and calls it the Texas T-Cart. Believe it or not, the T-Cart received its name because Taylorcraft didn't fit on the license plates of Randy's car. What you see is not an optical illusion. It's Craig Hosking in his airplane, the Double Take. No one took Craig seriously when he first came up with the idea of inverted takeoffs and landings. But after more than 8 years of planning, persistence, and practice, Craig's dream became a reality. Here's how Craig describes his airplane and how the idea of inverted takeoffs and landings evolved.
Well, what we have is the Bose double take. It's the only airplane in the world that can take off and land both right side up and upside down. It's a process of really several years of planning and preparation and then execution and building of the airplane, as well as a test flight program that took in excess of a year. I think the idea to land an airplane upside down first came to me at least 10 or 15 years ago. As a little guy, I used to go to a lot of the air shows, and I'd watch performers performing, and I realized that if a proper plane were found and the structure could be built to support a set of inverted wheels, there's really no reason in the world a plane couldn't take off and land upside down.
Rotating the aircraft. That comes forward. Just touch down on
In addition to flying the double take, Craig is also one of the leading helicopter pilots for television and film productions. Howard Pardue owns and flies a stable of warbird aircraft. He has logged more than 9,000 hours in the air, 3,000 of which have been spent in the cockpits of World War II aircraft like this Grumman Bearcat. Howard, a veteran Marine Corps fighter pilot, is also a frequent participant in the unlimited category at the Reno National Air Races. This yellow laser is piloted by Joe Frasca, who really knows the ups and downs of airshow flying. When he isn't flying his laser, Joe enjoys flying warbirds. The term aerial ballet is a fitting description of the French Connection's beautifully choreographed routine. Pilots Montaigne Mallet and Daniel Heligion perform some of the tightest formation aerobatics ever seen.
Aerobatic is flying 100%. If you really do like flying, if you like to be in an aircraft, you ought to try aerobatic because it's really flying 100% instead of just going from point A to point B, which is nice, we enjoy that too, but you're really going around the three axes. An aircraft is made to fly. You can never get perfect at it. You always have to work. You can do 10,000 loops, you still have to work on a 10,001. So it's a constant challenge. And the teamwork is wonderful. I love to work at two because with two, you cannot. If you look back, he looks bad.
If you've ever wondered what a gyroplane is capable of doing, just watch Ken Brock fly his. The sound of Steve Wolf's Samson and its powerful 500 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engine are almost as recognizable as the airplane itself. The airplane's incredible power-to-weight ratio made it possible for Steve to smash the world time-to-climb record by a remarkable 22 seconds in 1985. The U.S. Air Force F-117A stealth fighter made a rare public appearance during the 1990 EAA Fly-In Convention. The sinister-looking jet, which is built by Lockheed, is the world's first operational aircraft designed to use low observable stealth technology. Simply stated, the airplane is visible to the eye, but is hard to detect by radar or other electronic surveillance equipment. The airplane first flew in 1981. Until recently, test flights and maneuvers had been conducted only at night. The airplane made its first public appearance on April 22, 1990, at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Captain Scott Stimpert described what it's like to fly the F-117A.
It's a lot of fun. The airplane itself, in terms of stick and rudder, is a very conventional, very honest airplane. As far as employing the airplane, flying at night, represents its own unique set of challenges employing any airplane at night. It's a lot of fun being in an airplane that's new and a little bit different. Very different than what I was used to in other fighters. The first thing you'll notice on the airplane is that the intakes on either side of the fuselage are heavily covered or screened. The airplane slopes back to the exhaust, which instead of being a round conventional nozzle is in fact pressed flat across the back half of the airplane and is very high off the ground, very difficult to see from the ground. You can see that we've got two control surfaces on each side of the airplane that give us both elevator and aileron authority, plus we have the two sloping rudders that are movable up above the stubs that give us a control system. The aircraft employs a digital flight control, or a fly-by-wire flight control system, same one the F-16 uses, so it gives us a very conventional feel and a very honest feel as far as flying the airplane goes. The whole idea is that if you can either be invisible or delay somebody's ability to see you until it's too late, you gain a tremendous advantage. So I don't know if anybody will build another stealth fighter that is specifically designed for night precision strike like our airplane is, but I'm sure that stealth technology is going to be a part of every fighter that's produced from now on.
After the airplane took off and engaged in a number of flybys, it hooked up with a KC-135 refueling tanker for a final pass over the convention site. A number of former military pilots are now flying air shows. Bill Beardsley is one of them. A former Navy Blue Angel, Bill received 7 medals for combat missions he flew in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. It's not difficult to understand why Canadian native Manfred Radius has received numerous awards for his sailplane flying. A member of the Soaring Association of Canada's Flight Training and Safety Committee, Manfred has been instrumental in helping to design Canada's aerobatic training program for glider pilots. Single and double rolls are trademarks of Dave Dacey's performance. Dave has been around airplanes his entire life. He grew up on Dacey Airport, home to a large gathering of antique and classic airplanes. A veteran of more than 15 years on the airshow circuit, Dave provided an interesting perspective on his airplane's historical background.
Well, the airplane is a 1930s vintage design airplane built in Germany. It was built to compete in the 1936 Olympics. Hitler wanted an airplane that would conquer the world in aerobatics, you know, put Germany kind of on its feet. airplane is at its best doing snapping maneuver, snap rolls, flying knife edge. It's just an all-around good, fun aerobatic airplane.
Whether flying in formation with other warbirds or as an individual act with Pete McManus at the controls, P-51 Mustangs are always a hit with airshow audiences. Gene Soucy is best known as a member of the Eagles aerobatic flight team. Recently, he has also been flying with Teresa Stokes on the wing of his airplane, the Showcat. The airplane is a modified AgCat that Gene describes as the perfect airshow plane.
Well, it was an old AgCat. You know, it's a 1973 Grumman AgCat with a 450 horse engine. And I bought it about 3 years ago and started modifying it. And we call it the Showcat now. It's just a great airshow airplane. It's all metal. So I can use it for the night airshow I do. I can put fireworks on the wingtips and not worry about having a problem with that. And the 450 engine makes a great sound for the air shows, and the makes great smoke. It's just a perfect airshow airplane.
This laser, flown by Bob Davis, is powered by a 200 horsepower Lycoming engine and climbs at the rate of 3,000 feet per minute. The airplane's clean appearance is complemented by sharp, straight lines and squared wingtips. One of the most popular features of the Osh Kosh Air Show is the appearance of the warbirds. Warbirds include this B-26 Invader, a B-25 Mitchell, and a TBM Avenger. This fully restored B-24 heavy bomber was named Grand Champion Warbird at EAA Osh Kosh 90. Called the All-American, it's one of only 3 that are still flying. It is the only one that has been fully restored, both inside and out, at a cost of more than $1 million.
I flew B-24 during World War II, and it's really a pleasure to be able to fly this one. Like I say, unless a person could see in the airplane when they started, they really can't appreciate what a wonderful job these people have done on it.
The airplane was restored by Robert Collings and the Collings Foundation of Stowe, Massachusetts. The Osh Kosh Air Show features a collection of fighters that hasn't been seen since World War II. From a P-47 Thunderbolt and a P-51 Mustang to an FM-2 Wildcat. P-40 Warhawk. A Hawker Sea Fury. And an F-7 Tiger Cat. This Tiger Cat, owned and operated by the Kalamazoo Air Museum, is a regular performer at Osh Kosh. Military trainers were very well represented, including T-6s and SNJs. T-28s. And T-34s. Individually, these airplanes are living chapters of world and aviation history. In formation, they pay lasting tribute to the many who fought and died for our freedom. Civilian-owned jet warbirds have become more popular at Osh Kosh each year, like this Fuga Magister. The Combat Jets Flying Museum again brought a number of aircraft from their home base in Houston, including this A-4 Skyhawk. The combat jet contingent also included this rare MiG-21, which put on an impressive display of its power and maneuverability. Every time the MiG flew, all eyes and ears turned toward the flight line. Steve Powell is the only sailplane pilot in the world who performs sailplane aerobatics at night. However, it's much easier to see the beauty of his performance during daylight hours. Bill Leff has been flying the shiny AT-6 Texan for more than 13 years. He purchased the airplane in 1975 and performed a complete restoration. If you're looking for background information on the airplane, just ask Bill.
Well, this airplane's a 1942 AT-6 Texan, and it was originally manufactured in Texas, and in 1951 the airplane was remanufactured in California into a T-6G, which is the current configuration. Well, during the World War II it was used as an advanced trainer. It was used for gunnery training and aerobatics and instrument training. In 1959 it was sold surplus, and this particular airplane sold for $771.
This sleek Italian design is piloted by veteran air show performer Debbie Gary Collier. In addition to her solo career, Debbie has also flown with 3 aerobatic formation teams.
Debbie Gary hit the sky, completing through horizontally.
The Eagles, Charlie Hillard, Gene Soucy, and Tom Poberezny have been flying together longer than any other civilian aerobatic team. Charlie, the flight leader, is a former world aerobatic champion. Gene and Tom have both won the U.S. Unlimited Aerobatic Championship. All three were members of the first United States team to win the World Aerobatic Team Championship in 1972. Their precise aerobatic maneuvers and exciting overall routine have helped the Eagles become one of the most popular flight teams around. If you've ever wondered how to become a wing walker, Cheryl Ray Littlefield would say all you have to do is volunteer. That's how it all started for Cheryl Ray, who met Gene in 1980. Gene describes it this way.
I started in the airshow business with a local EAA chapter. They needed a drop act, and I had a steerman, and a drop act is where a parachutist falls out of the airplane. In the ensuing years after that, we became more and more active in the airshow business. We started doing the wing act in 1980. In a 21-year airshow history, we have been doing the wing act for 10 years. Cheryl's story begins in 1980.
I watched Gene fly at a local air show, which was put on by the same EAA chapter, I believe. And he had another girl on the wing of the airplane, and I commented to a mutual friend that it looked like it would be fun to do just once. She unfortunately had a non-aviation related accident walking across the parking lot. She tore all the cartilage in her knee, and they needed somebody to fill in for her for the season, and I got the phone call, and it was kind of a put up or shut up. Now's your chance. And I jumped at it and never thought that I'd be here 10 years later, but here I am, and I love every minute of it.
Other performers add significantly to the aerial pageantry. Their talents and skills are appreciated by all who gather to watch each day. In the summer of 1940, Great Britain's Royal Air Force engaged superior numbers of pilots and aircraft from Hitler's powerful Luftwaffe in fierce aerial combat that became known as the Battle of Britain. "1990 marked the 50th anniversary of this epic struggle. Special Battle of Britain commemorative activities, including forums by Spitfire pilot William Walker and other key individuals, were unforgettable. The Supermarine Spitfire incorporated a radical new aluminum airframe with a new engine from Rolls-Royce, the Merlin. Combined with a sleek elliptical wing, the Merlin engine helped create a fast and highly maneuverable fighting machine. More than any other airplane, the Spitfire has become an enduring symbol of the Battle of Britain. While the Spitfire receives much of the attention, it was the Hawker Hurricane that served as Great Britain's primary fighter plane during the summer of 1940. This tube and fabric monoplane utilized a powerful Rolls-Royce engine and employed 8 Browning machine guns in its thick single wing. The Hurricane downed more enemy aircraft during the Battle of Britain than any other British airplane. The de Havilland Mosquito also made an appearance. This all-wood airplane served many purposes during the war, as a fighter, a bomber, and on reconnaissance missions. It provided additional color to the Battle of Britain activities during EAA Osh Kosh-Style. Excitement, precision, speed, and power. All of these words certainly describe the dazzling display of performers who make the EAA Airshow the greatest show on and above Earth. The airshow portion of EAA Osh Kosh has become one of the most visible and popular events for participants and spectators alike. Even the volunteers who coordinate each day's show cast an eye toward the sky when time permits. The result of these efforts is a symphony of sight and sound that is so eloquently played against a beautiful backdrop of blue.